Welcome to the show. We have a great show for you today. We have Angela Yong from Fit Columbia, and she talks about all things in the fitness world. She's been certified in multiple different yoga techniques. She talks about going to Thailand for weeks on end to learn all of that. Some of the miracles and magical things happening in her studio as well, and how you can get involved too if you're into fitness, stretching, weight loss, emotional healing, any of that. So thanks for listening. We hope you enjoy. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It. I am Dr. Randy here with Dr. Tom. As always, thanks for listening. We see it if you guys are following our show, or if you give us a review or share it with someone that you know. We love getting the word out about Colombia. We really started this because we knew that there was a ton of really interesting people in Colombia, and we wanted to meet them and introduce them. And even for me, when I first moved here, I didn't know anything about any of the businesses, and this is a resource for you to learn about all the businesses and the business owners and how they started. So we have a great show today. We have Angela Yong. And sorry, I said that wrong.
Why does he do it?
I didn't mean to. I didn't. We had
Felt like I was in middle school again.
I wasn't trying to. So backstory behind that. We accidentally spelled your name Young, but it's actually Yong. So I wanted to make sure that I said it right, but then I looked at it and I said it wrong. So I'm sorry. That wasn't purposely. And you are the owner of Fit Columbia.
Yep.
And in your bio information, you just wrote your mom.
I was like,
Your
these
mom.
guys wouldn't have me on here if they didn't know my bio, so I just wrote your mama.
So welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you guys for having me.
So are you from Colombia originally?
No, I've been here. My youngest daughter is going to be 24 in 2 weeks, so I've been
wow.
here 25 years.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. I didn't want to move my kids around. You know, I went to 4 different high schools, and I came to the U.S. when I was 7. So I just wanted a little bit more stability for my 2 daughters.
Yeah. And where did you come from when you were 7?
Korea.
And then what was it like?
It was rough.
Yeah, did you have to learn English?
Yeah, and I had to learn it in a way that kind of felt like a fire hose in my face because we ended up in the mountains of West Virginia. Then my dad was military, so we were always moving. And every time we'd go back to a home base, it was the mountains of West Virginia where we stood out like sore thumbs.
And West Virginia might be the worst spot to come to.
I don't even
first.
understand what they are saying in the mountains of West Virginia sometimes.
To date, there's still not a light in my town. There's not a street light.
No way.
Really?
Stop
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
Wow.
Small town.
Yeah.
West Virginia.
And all right, so you always knew that you wanted to own your own fitness center?
No, I never wanted to own
Oh, you
my own
didn't?
business. I don't know why anyone would go into business for themselves. It actually came as a need, as most things do. I got divorced and I had 2 small kids, and I worked for the university and a Hammond school, and I loved all my jobs, but I kept making a lot of money for other people. You know, when I was at the University of South Carolina, one of the ways that we were able to get around all the conflicting schedules was I created a midnight volleyball tournament. So it started at 10 p.m. when we knew we wouldn't have conflicts with basketball or any other sports teams. And the coaches would show up, you know, give all the players high five, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
We would play 4-man till like 5 in the morning, and then I would give away old, you know, camp equipment, you know, leftover backpacks and
Really?
stuff. And the people loved it. I mean, it's good quality Under Armour, you know, stuff. But the coaches would make a ton of money, and they were great, so there's nothing about that. But I kept creating these events and activities that would generate income, and I realized I should probably do that for myself.
So people were showing up at 10 p.m. to play volleyball until 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Who are these people? 20-year-olds? Who would do that?
You know, at the time, I was the president of the Volleyball Association. There's one it's still active, but yeah, they play. Oh my gosh, they play when it's 100 degrees outside for 2 straight days.
Really?
You know, just a cooler and a net, and they just play.
How's your volleyball skills?
They were pretty good, but I've taken a long break since then. It's 2011 when I played in an international tournament in Jamaica. My women's team actually won the whole thing. It was surprising to me, but all my teammates were from Trinidad and Barbados, and I was very lucky. We had really great coaching. And after 5 days of playing, we actually won the whole damn thing. And after I came back, it was kind of hard to go back to play in the local rec league. So I took a little break from that and did things like mountain biking and whitewater kayaking, which is also super duper expensive when you are 5 foot tall because you can't borrow equipment. So
Yeah, volleyball's not easy when you're 5 foot tall either.
no.
Randy used to be really good at volleyball back
Really?
in 6th grade.
Up until 8th grade, well, I've told this story before, but I hit puberty so early that I was the tallest person for 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade.
Nice.
And I was super athletic. I would just crush everybody. But then I quit growing and everybody is caught up and passed me. So
That makes sense.
that didn't work out. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Columbia Family Chiropractic, with 3 easy-to-get-to locations, one in Forest Acres, which is by Trader Joe's, one in O'Neill Court by the DMV, and one in the Northeast by Sand Hills. You'll be sure to have somewhere near you. They offer a ton of services from corrective care, on-site digital x-rays, spinal decompression for bulging or herniated discs, dry needling for injuries, pediatric care, and a Class 4 laser. They accept all your major insurances. And if you mention this ad, you'll get a discount on your first appointment. Check out their website at cfc4health.com or Google Columbia Family Chiropractic. That's cfc4health.com.
I think the advantage that I had was I ended up playing like 5 seasons in 4 years because I was traveling so much. And so I played, in Florida and I played in North Carolina. I played in bigger cities. So by the time I got back to West Virginia, it's like, no one could touch me.
Easy. Yep.
Yeah, I'd already been coached by some of the better coaches all over.
Sweet.
That was my way out of West Virginia.
Yeah.
So then you got sick of making other people money,
Yeah.
putting all these events, and you thought, I'm going to do this for myself now.
I think that was the large part of it, but also I really needed to be able to get both of my girls to everywhere they needed to go. I'm the primary bread earner. I'm the kin keeper of my family, so the holidays, I'm the one that brings everybody together, and I remember to take all the trips, and so those kinds of things were falling on me. So not only did I have to make the income, but I also had to still be a parent, like an actively engaged one. So I needed to make my own schedule, and that's what I did. My first studio was on Divine Street, and it was one of my clients' closets in her office building, and it was only a little bit bigger than this space, which I can't. What is this,
Really?
like 400 square feet?
This room right here, I would say 10 by
200?
20.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 200 square
Okay,
foot.
so it was only a little bit bigger than this.
Wow.
I also can't gauge size.
So one of your clients said to you, hey, I've got this closet. You want to work there?
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, let's do it.
So at the time, I had, I've been doing this since right out of college. So this is all I've ever done is, fitness, yoga, in that world. And at the time, one of my clients was, when you fall in love with your clients, you become really devoted to each other. And she just punched her husband in one night, and she was like, find something for her. And then he just called me the next day. He goes, I found something for you. Just come in. It's in my building. And then we just renovated it, and I was there for a couple of years, grew it really fast, moved again, grew it really fast. It just kept growing, and I didn't do it intentionally. So I definitely did not intend on taking this studio as big as it's become. That I think that's just a byproduct of my enthusiasm.
Can you put her mic right up to her?
How about that?
That's better. Wow. Good for you.
Thanks.
Well, tell us about like some of the concepts. So you grew up kind of doing some of this, but your gym is really unique. Or
It
your
is.
studio. Would you prefer studio versus gym, or does it matter?
I think it depends on the day.
Yeah.
It is unique. I think when I looked around, there was already a lot of yoga studios. And they were all doing the same thing, and there's nothing wrong with what they were doing. But I wanted to go a non-traditional route, so I started studying and traveling all over the country at different yoga studios. And that's why I brought in the wall yoga, the aerial yoga. And those are essentially props. You're still doing yoga, but now you don't have any pain in your joints and some of these postures. And then as far as fitness goes, I just noticed the same trend again. When people come to you with vulnerability, they come to you, they're scared, nervous, they just want to tell you how much they used to be able to do, their doctor sent them, but they come to you with vulnerability, and then you turn around and lock them into a 2-year contract, and you're not even sure who you're giving them as their influence,
Right.
who is going to guide them.
Yeah.
And I found that really offensive. So the big thing that happened was my oldest daughter went to a gym, and I won't say where, but she went to a gym, and they basically humiliated her, and she just felt like shit when she left. And I thought it was going to be a safe space for her. So I said, well, fuck it. Oh, sorry. Can I say that?
Yeah,
I
sure.
said, well, I'm going to build it myself.
The kids need to hear that.
They do. My studio has no mirrors, except for the one that's near like T-shirts or sweatshirts if you want to buy something.
Yeah.
The studio has no contracts, no long-term memberships, you're not going to get a call in 3 days. And one thing that happens in the fitness industry that a lot of people don't know is people will drive around the building multiple times. They won't come in. They're scared, especially if they've had bad situations in the past. So, we meet them where they are. We're very, very good at that. That is, I think, the best thing that we do. One of the primary rules at my studio for all my staff is you're not allowed to be a rushed person. If you're in a hurry, you can't work here. If you have to shut somebody off at exactly 30 minutes, you can't work here. So
Wow.
all the time is an ish.
Nice.
I feel like I'm talking so heavy.
That's it. Well,
Well,
it's an
it's just-
interesting concept. I've never heard that before from a business owner.
Well, it makes it tough to schedule because Randy's real time oriented.
Not really. All of our guests know that.
Well, I used to go to a church that you never knew how long the sermon was going to be.
No.
Sometimes it would be 30 minutes. Sometimes it would be an hour and a half, wherever he was guided.
No.
And I remember sitting there being like, I am starving, and this guy's 2.5 hours into this, and I just need to leave right now. And like, I would start misbehaving, and
Of course you did.
and it was frustrating. And then, so now the church that I go to, which I love, Village Church, they have like exact to the moment, everything is structured. So I know I plan all my things before. I can plan my workouts before. I can plan what I'm going to do right after, and I know exactly where I'm going to be. So that kind of stresses me out hearing you say that.
You know what? The vibe attracts the tribe, so you probably wouldn't. But also consider, I'm not
Vibe
saying
attracts the tribe.
every
Oh,
30 minutes.
that's a T-shirt.
I'm
You
into
need that as a T-shirt.
Tell me
Let's
that's
get
on
some
a shirt
merch.
already.
Did you make that up?
No.
Where did you hear that?
I'm sure I saw it somewhere on Instagram. But at the end of the day, that's not saying that we can't stay on time. But I am saying that when I'm manipulating somebody, there was a runner that came to me and she kept having hip pain, and she's a fast runner. And I sat on her hips, and I'm just breathing with her, and then 20 minutes in, she starts crying, tells me she can't have children. That's the source of your hip pain.
Wow.
We couldn't have got there if we didn't shut up for 5 seconds and just give her the space to talk to me.
That's good.
She doesn't have hip pain.
That is good.
She's back to being a badass runner.
Wow.
Now, sitting on your client, tell us more about that. Is that a part of the process? Do you sign up for that?
That's why there's no time frame. So I actually went to Thailand to study Thai yoga bodywork because I also noticed, and I mean no disrespect to any massage therapist, but massage therapy in South Carolina, the hours required are not very much compared to other states. There's not a lot of governing body in the fitness industry, so I could get away with more. Yeah. So I went and studied Thai yoga bodywork in Thailand, and I did 3 trainings in Asheville. And I found that modality gives me a lot of power. The labor and licensing came after me and said, I heard that you guys were saying that you're a massage therapist. You have to prove you're not. I'm like, I'm not a sailor either. You want me to prove that? Like, where is this coming from? But somebody had anonymously reported that I was massaging people. And I'm not. I don't want to look at anybody's naked body unless I choose to.
Right.
And I don't want to go through the licensing process. So for me, with the Thai yoga bodywork, in Thailand, there are far less restrictions. Like, my teacher actually just sat on somebody's neck, and this is a male, sat on a female's neck, legs straddling her. And she stood up, and she's like, oh my God, my neck is so healed.
Really?
You can't do that here. You can't do that here.
No.
But I like knowing it,
Yeah.
Have you done that move to anybody before?
not in actual
Not
practice.
officially.
Behind the scenes.
Not paid for it. This is why I didn't want to come on the show. Y'all, I knew you guys would get me in trouble.
I forgot to tell you, Randy, she was nervous. So she's been booked before and then pulled out because she was nervous.
Oh.
It's like, these guys
We finally got her back.
back.
We finally got her back.
I think we left an open-ended question. You brought up sitting on someone's neck.
But even their materials, the bodies are nude. So now I really can get an idea of which muscles attach and which,
Right.
all the things that are Much better visuals, much
So
better understanding.
just for clarity, when you were visualizing this in Thailand, the guy was naked,
No,
sitting on the woman's naked.
it's a different part of Thailand.
Oh, he had the
Red
guy
light
had
district.
the guy had shorts on,
Yes.
and then he sat on the woman's neck. She was face up, and he sat on her.
Yeah.
And did he just stay there for a little bit?
Yes.
And just used his weight.
And like he would pull his calf into himself, and it would tighten the grip underneath the armpit and the top of the trap.
Oh.
And then when he was done, he'd say, "Okay, you guys practice," and he'd go chain smoke.
Gotta rip a
I mean, it was
dagger.
wild.
Yeah.
I went to Thailand for my honeymoon for 3 weeks.
Did you love it?
It was wild though.
Yeah.
I was doing Muay Thai, which I loved, but they would just beat me up so bad. They'd call me lady boy and kick me. I came back. My wife's like, "We're on our honeymoon and you're coming back scraped up and bruised." But then they had the Thai massage. My wife and I went and did one of those Thai massages, and they torqued me and twisted me in every way.
That's what I do.
They stood on my back and grabbed my arms and yanked up, and like they're not speaking English, so you don't know what they're saying. They're just talking to each other, and me and Allison were just like, "Oh my goodness, my arm's gonna fall off."
Yeah. And that home massage was like $8, right?
Yeah. Basically,
For real.
Yeah,
That's wild. So that's what Thai yoga is. Thai yoga is kind of one-on-one.
Yes.
You're using your body with their body and it's almost like assisted stretching too.
Yeah. I traveled to Atlanta where they had stretch therapy that was much popular.
Yes.
And then I started traveling to learn about the assisted stretching. And then I did the 200 hours of yoga. And I just started marrying all of that knowledge. And what I found was it's still not enough. Pulling on somebody is not enough. You have to introduce all the breath work. You have to be in it. And sometimes I find that, like, especially with, like, we were talking about earlier, massages, the benefits sort of dissipate an hour after you leave. It feels great during and then a few minutes later, but then you're just oily the rest of the day. With this, like 3 or 4 hours later, you're like, "Oh my God, my soft tissue. Wow." Oh, people message me and go, "I washed my hair with no shoulder pain. And, I've done this and I've done that and haven't been able to feel this kind of, comfort." Mm-hmm. So it's pretty great.
So it could be the fascia, maybe, is
For real.
a
Yep.
component of it.
Yes. Because I'm a big fan of CEUs. So just so the audience knows, if I do get into any kind of politics, I am going to be trying to get some of the, fitness industry to have some sort of licensure processes because, there's no one overseeing. There's a person in town that has a personal training certification from 10 years ago and has zero,
Right.
nothing. They don't even have first aid and safety, like the most basic things. So for me, I always took that really serious. And so I went and got medical grade cupping, instrument assisted soft tissue mobilization, which is the gua sha blading, KT taping. So I just went and studied all these so that when I'm in the moment, because most people don't come in and go, "I just think you should really cut my shoulder and then tape my back."
Right.
I figure it out while we're there.
Mm-hmm.
And then if anything, which has happened more than once, but if something is outside of my scope, I have a long list of people I send them to.
That's nice. It's interesting. And so I grew up in Canada and I practiced in Canada for about 8 years. Yep. And they are so over-regulated that it completely stifles innovation.
Yep.
And even as a chiropractor, it was like, here's your very, very specific lane, and that's all you're allowed to do. And then I moved here, and there's a lot more freedom and innovation, and it's amazing the things that we can do here.
Absolutely.
So I think
a
there's
scary
I think there's a level of one way or the other way where, one of my favorite quotes is, "For every mile of road, there's 2 miles of ditch." And I think that's probably accurate in the regulation side of it too. Like maybe there's a list of things that you're not allowed to do or not allowed to say, but then you can innovate within that.
There's also, the budgeting for it. So as a small business owner, I'm nickeled and dimed over so many things.
Yes.
But now if you take somebody and, socioeconomically disadvantaged, minorities, you don't see a lot of African Americans or minority yogis. And that's because the training is $3,000 and 200 hours. That's just base level. Mm-hmm. So to add on top of that a demand that you have to pay $100 a year for this licensure, and then you have to do these certain number of CEUs, that might be excessive, especially since a lot of licensure processes are governed by a board of your peers. So that means that some people get leeway and others don't. So I'm not 100% fighting for that, but I do think there needs to be something done. Somebody is coming to you and asking you for true health guidance, and you just can't say, let's do push-ups. Like, what?
Right.
Let's just do push-ups.
Push-ups are the answer.
Push-ups are not the answer. But yeah.
More push-ups always.
What are you coming in with? Shoulder issues? Push-ups.
Push-ups.
So what kind of tunes are you playing while you're working on somebody?
Whatever they want.
Really?
Yeah, it's even in our notes. Like,
You get to pick.
yeah, if one of my
Now, does that-
clients it goes to work with you,
Yeah.
when you read the notes, it'll say they like the oldies or whatever.
Does that mess up your vibe?
No,
Really?
I don't even hear it.
So if I wanted like bongo drums, you're fine with that?
I would be.
Okay.
Because also consider, 30, 45 minutes, 60
Yeah.
minutes. I mean,
You just got to go with it.
Or Morgan Wallen. Country
it does-
music bumping.
Doesn't
No
matter.
problem.
Okay.
they can
That's
come in
nice.
with all the political thoughts that are opposing mine, and I'm just going to stand there and take it. It's just, that's your job.
Wow.
Very
They
interesting.
have to be comfortable being themselves. So
Do you do like a 1-day assessment or a first day assessment? Like say somebody just wants to like get healthier. That's their thing.
yeah,
Don't know why I need to be here, but I'm here. What does that appointment look like?
you guys. I had a young woman come in the other day and say, my mom booked this session for me because she wanted me to ask you where I should go work out. And I sent her over to P-Evolve based on everything we talked about. And then she said, you were right, I love it. So
That's cool.
people book. I get a lot of men come in,
Yeah.
and they go, I don't know why I'm here. I don't want to be here. I'm not doing yoga.
Yeah.
And so I create a category, and it says, I don't know why I'm here. My wife sent me. And
Check the box.
so I get lots of appointments for all kinds of things. But as far as assessments go, yes. My first session with somebody is usually 75 minutes to 90 minutes. And so, I'm going to hear their story. I'm going to check their feet. I mean, I had a man come in. He was sent to me from various people, and he's like, my back hurts every time I work out, and I don't know what's going on. Maybe you can watch me work out. And I was like, maybe, but let's just strip down. You got your shorts, t-shirt, take your shoes and socks off. And he was missing his pointer toe. The whole toe had been
Really?
amputated. And so there was never an adjustment, like a prosthetic
Yeah.
or even teaching how to like roll through the foot properly. And so the first thing I did was I got him hooked up with a prosthetics person, and then I got him back into PT, and he's doing great.
Nice.
So you're triaging people.
I think so.
That's what it
I think
is.
so. But, I will admit that kind of one thing I do well is I generally like people. So if you feel like I'm not judging you. Also, I think I look kind of normal. I've seen some of your guests, and they're like super cute and attractive, and I just look like a normal person. So that's not as off-putting. Like, I don't know if people feel threatened by me. So I think that helps.
Vibe. What was it? Vibe attracts vibe. What was
The
her saying?
vibe attracts the tribe.
Oh, the vibe attracts the tribe.
That's right.
That's I really like that. And so when you're talking to somebody for their very first time, there's going to be a trust level where they're sitting there saying, I don't know what to do or what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be silent if you need to be silent, let them talk if they need to talk. And then what does a next appointment look like? Do you typically see them again? Do they call back whenever they're ready? What is that process?
Well, in that first session, I'm still laying hands on them.
Okay.
I think, remember how I mentioned earlier, the first thing in my studio is you can't be hurried. And the second thing is you have to be versed in non-sexual intimate touch. And I genuinely believe that in our country, a lot of what's happening is people aren't being touched. There's no multi-generational households. There's no aunties. There's nobody, grandma, who's touching you.
Right.
And then a lot of people are by themselves. I mean, I've heard repeatedly on your podcast all these single people, like to be non-sexually touched
Right.
other than a doctor, that's tricky. So if you come to my studio, you're going to get touched. And if you don't like it, you won't come back, and there's no contract, so it doesn't matter. We only want people who want to be there. So the first time if you're in and we start going over all the notes and we start talking about everything, I'm immediately going to stretch you. I'm going to move your body. Then we're going to play. I think that's the third component is play. So we have all the bungees and the silks. I got 80-some-year-old people floating around the aerial silks.
Yeah.
Do you know what happens when you're that happy? you do more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to force you to do something in 30 minutes. If I know when you get home you're in such a damn good mood, you're gonna walk an extra hour. You're gonna play that workout video. You are, and that's kind of our theory.
Non-sexual touch is
Non-sexual intimate touch.
Non-sexual intimate touch.
What? Give us an example of that.
Like I will hold you.
like a hug. Like you'll just like hug somebody.
Yeah. So part of like Thai yoga body work is I'll wrap my legs. I'll sit behind you. Okay.
That's wild.
My best friend in the whole world is 76, and he came to me like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And he did not want to come, but he's an avid golfer. He professional basketball player, all the things, and he didn't want to come. And I said, okay, then if you don't come, it's fine. But I'm here, so if you want to come, I'm just sitting here. So he came, and he's like, what is this? What are we gonna do? I go, I don't know. Let's just sit back to back. And so we sat back to back, and we just breathed. And then he just started talking, and then our nervous system's regulated. And he has been with me 4 days a week for the last 15 years.
Just
and he
back to back.
My best friend in the entire world.
Wow.
And he
4
plays
days a week for
4 days
15 years.
This man will outrun both of you. He plays tennis,
No
golf,
kidding.
every day.
Angela, you don't know how fast I am. I am so fast.
We have a great video of
Okay,
him
you
running on a
guys-
beach.
Okay, maybe not then.
That's cool. So that's great. So you develop these long-term relationships then with them.
For sure.
And how many people in a day would you generally see?
Like on a Monday, I'll see, that's why another thing, Mondays are hard. I'll have 13, 14 clients, and then I teach a late night restorative class, and that class is one of my favorite things I teach. So on Mondays are my long day.
Wow.
And do you feel like you have some psychic powers? like do you, when you meet with them and you're touching,
Yeah,
do you feel like you're absorbing some like knowledge?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then does that lead, so that kind of leads you through, like I'm trying to think, when you said they strip down into shorts and t-shirt, you check their feet. Checking their feet is, are you touching?
Yeah.
You're touching their feet.
I want to know, can those toes splay?
What's happening there?
what's going on,
How are
you
the
know.
toenails? What's the heel,
I
fungus?
studied feet for a week in New York. I don't remember what program it was, but I walked away from there going, everything is in the feet.
A lot of feet, yeah.
A
a lot of foot stuff. So
And
then
I
you
love
work,
feet.
then do you work up the leg? Like what's the next move? Or do you kind of read the person and go,
Well, I do. I have you do your whole parkour and you draw their map out of their body.
Oh, nice.
So I'm looking at what direction their knees are pointing. And if your feet are properly aligned, the knees should point ahead like headlights on a car.
yeah.
And then you just go up the body, you take notes, and then from there you can build, a corrective exercise program. You can do all kinds of things from that. But for me, it's more about understanding what are the subtle things they're doing. Like I have a really mobile left foot, like it just really bends. And it's because every time I drive, I hike my left leg up and I tuck my foot underneath my right leg. So that foot is used to being
sit on it.
really bent,
Yeah.
So if you're saying that this hurts, well, what are you repeatedly doing you don't even know?
Right.
What are you not paying attention to? And how can we get you connected back to your body to figure those little things out? Because then once we know, you just do the opposite. It's kind of that simple.
It's kind of awesome.
It's kind of
Yeah.
that simple.
What, have you ever known something that you shouldn't know?
Yeah.
Did you say anything to them about it?
I mean, I can't tell you. You guys are in this industry too. So, cadavers are tested and they have all this spinal problems and the person never complained about pain. Turning that volume down is sometimes it's more about the noise in their head. There are people that come in and they want to leave their spouse. There ain't no way they're doing it, but they want to, and they are suffering physically for it.
Wow.
And there are people that, they're hiding secrets. I had a woman just bust out in tears, and I held her for, I don't even know how long, but a good while. And she has no money, but if you watch her on social media, that bitch has money.
Mm-hmm.
And she is devastated waiting on, her family to find out. And like she came in with, I can't remember what it was, sciatic pain
Yeah.
or something like that. But it's manifesting physically. So that's the other really great thing is there are things that I know. I know. I think that might be why people like me is I know most of the secrets in town. It's like I know what your butt's been doing.
That's wild.
That is
Have
good.
you heard of the term like secret suffering? Or like German new medicine's like the practice of some of this stuff?
No, but I will go study now.
Yeah, German new medicine. It's interesting. What they talk about is it was a German physician that he lost his son to like a tragic car accident, and then he like instantly developed testicular cancer, I think it was, or like within months.
Yeah.
And what he was connecting was like the loss of a son and how that directly impacted the organ that produced his son, essentially.
Yep.
And then started studying that, and he like would get down to joint pain, and he found all these, I forget what they're called. Like there's territorial conflict, there's morsel conflict. There are these conflicts that happen, and biologically our body starts to react to something that we have experienced. So cells will start to change.
They will.
And that's like his whole thing. And it was cool. Like he's mapped all this out and there's a whole thing on it. And then that's where he was like linking all these cancers to what he called secret suffering, which is somewhat, it sounds like what you're describing, which are things that people are dealing with but don't talk about.
Yep.
And then that's what develops the disease. And then the disease is just treated symptomatically with chemicals, pills,
Or fast
surgeries.
tracks it. You know?
Yeah. Yes.
The disease might be 10, 20 years away, but now your deep stress, your deep longing, your ache is triggering it.
Mm-hmm.
And, so
And I truly think, yeah, like what at what level? I guess what percentage of disease do you think is our perception, like our mindset? In your opinion, just kind of like
I don't know if I have a opinion. I know so many of our diseases are from abundance, and I just don't think that you could ever intentionally sit there and force yourself to eat 3 pizzas.
right.
You know, so it's all subconscious, and so I think that percentage is probably high.
That's what I think. I think that we focus too much on the physical, and that's the symptom of the mental.
I'm with you.
All of this sounds great. Do you have a waiting list for years?
No.
Nobody knows it, but see,
No
that's
one
why
knows. You're
now
on the
you're
hottest podcast.
All right, I've heard you guys say this more than once. Like, it's a sick industry, not healthcare, right?
Yeah.
So here's another thing. When you work with somebody and they actually feel better, no, they don't keep coming in. I don't lock them into this contract where I have to see you 65 more times. You understand now what's going on. Or
Right.
you understand from a different language of what's going on. And then you can address these things. So I have people, I had a cyclist, and he was having hip pain, got through that. And then like a year later, he's like, you fixed it. I'm like, well, I didn't fix it, but okay. I get credit for stuff I didn't do. But he goes, now I want you to fix my wife. You know, but his wife is different. And so now I've been seeing her 3 times a week for over a year. But hers is completely different. It wasn't physical. His was physical. You know, and once we made those adjustments and got him on the right team, he's good to go. But hers is much different, and she needs 20 minutes of sitting around, you know, talking, and I go by her house and check on her, and it's just a different ballgame. So it just depends on the clients.
I find that's my experience too in the chiropractic world. Is there's a percentage of people that are just they injured themselves and it just needs to be fixed. Then there's a percentage of people that are doing repetitive things all day, every day, and it just needs to be maintained. They're sitting in front of a computer or they're lifting heavy things all day long, and there's just a level of maintaining it. But then there's also a category of people who either don't want to get better or don't believe that they can get better or
That's an
don't know
absolute
how to get
fact.
better. And that's a whole different category that I feel like you're stepping into that would be tough for anyone in the medical industry to have that or to want that.
Yep.
And Tom and I have talked about this, like a woman crying is one of our most uncomfortable scenarios. And because there's just it's just not a normal thing. I think that I had 2 brothers growing up. I didn't see women crying all the time. And then all of a sudden I got into practice and I had tons of female staff and I had a wife and I had 2 daughters and then I had patients who would get emotional. And it was just like a new world to navigate that no clue what to do.
Yeah.
But you press into it.
I do.
So I'm glad that you're here
Yeah.
because we need that.
Somebody's got to lean into it.
What do you do? Have you had anybody that had any boundary issues that were like, and what do you do with that?
Good question.
Yeah.
They kept like grabbing, like they were hugging you too tight, or they were like
Like they
asking
may
for
get a
more.
little, yeah, they may get a little too
Aroused.
turned into it. And then what do you do?
That's happened a couple
You
of
go
times.
with it?
That happens especially to women. That's just the thing. I guess it probably happens to you guys, but it's more overt for us. But I'll say most of the time, and I have had a lot of men just bow out. They're after their session, they're like, "That was great, and I won't be back." And then a guy came back like 6 months later. He goes, "I broke up with my girlfriend." I'm like, "That still doesn't change anything."
Because I mean, what if they want to take it to the next level? Where do you stop? Like, where do you go? I can't go past this boundary.
So, that's an easy one, even with my interns. So we're a teaching studio. So we have agreements with Midlands Tech and USC to bring their future personal trainers, anybody in the fitness industry, they can come spend their semester with us. And even with them, I'm constantly having conversations about modesty. This is not your space where you can wear your cute little Lululemon outfit and walk around sweaty and just being awesome. You can do that,
Right.
but it can't be here. This is a place where I want all of my friends to be okay sending their grandmother, sending their kids, sending their husband, sending their boyfriend. I even have other gyms send me people. I can't tell you how many gyms have sent me pregnant women. As soon as they're done with their pregnancy, they go right back to their home gym. I'm happy for them. The other thing that happens is people come from like a CrossFit gym and I'll break down their hang clean for them, and we'll spend time doing it. It takes us 6-7 weeks to teach that. How in the F are you doing in a weekend?
Right.
With your 10 hours of training you got. So, we'll break it down for them. They'll get confident in the move. They go right back to their home gym. And they were never locked into a contract, so it didn't matter. And that's kind of the beautiful part about the way I do it is we're responsible.
Yeah.
If somebody stops coming, then we need to know why. And if it's because you're going through a divorce, well, we need to modify the pricing. And if it's because, you've achieved what you wanted, then we should be like, fly bird, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only problem with this design, and every single business coach I've ever had has told me it's a problem, is I don't have 2 cars, I don't have 2 houses. I live a modest life, and that's fine. I'm good with it.
Is flybird? That's what you say to them? Flybird?
Yeah. Fly
like-
baby
Like
bird.
fly away.
Fly away.
Yeah.
Release.
Release.
I fish.
Butterfly. We say turning into a.
Oh, I just commented on one of her posts. Oh, she went from a caterpillar to a butterfly.
You did.
You did?
Metamorphosis.
Congratulations.
Silly. Yeah.
It spoke to me. I want to know, all right, so with the interns, because I was going to ask this question on if somebody wants to start becoming you, so they can intern with you, do they have to have like a formal in-school internship, or if they're just like a regular gym owner, Joe off the street? That was question 1. Question 2, if you could put in a hierarchy of like teaching, where would you recommend they start learning, and what would be like push that off towards the back? It's too advanced type learning, like on a scale.
Okay. So, my time is pretty strapped. So I don't really take a lot of people off the street, also because I don't know their motives. A lot of people waste my time. They'll come in and book a session with me, and the entire time they're talking about their software they want to sell me.
Right.
Or they want me to buy an ad in their magazine. It's like, oh my gosh, you robbed somebody of this time with me. So what I like about going through the universities is they have insurance.
Yeah.
So those kids, if they come in and do something stupid, the insurance is covered, and that's something I've had to learn the hard way. But so they're insured, and then if they act crazy, like I had one of my interns try to sell weed to my client who's
What?
he's a heart surgeon. He tried to sell him weed.
To the heart surgeon?
Yeah, he's like, listen, I know Angela mentioned CBD, but I have got better stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you just did this. So
That's amazing.
you learn so much.
What did you do? Did you freak out?
No,
Oh.
I just notified the university, and they do not mess around. Like, he was pulled immediately.
Oh.
Zap.
Yeah, they don't mess around. If you call and that's one thing I tried not to do now. It's like if you call and complain, the kid's out. The kid has to show up on time. They have to do what they say they're gonna do. They have to work. But anyway, the second part of the question was like this hierarchy of educational training, maybe.
Yeah, like where do you start? Because maybe somebody's like, oh, I'm into that, and then they start reading something that's like so advanced that they just won't progress because they shouldn't have started there. So where do you think like the beginnings? Is it breath work? Is it yoga, regular? I don't know. Hugging somebody.
I think, okay, so first of all, I don't know if y'all noticed, but during COVID, there was just this huge influx of online certifications and trainings.
Yeah.
And they're not all equal. So I think, one, you got to stay within a proximity. You should always do everything in person until you are like solid in your field. Then, so do it in person so that you're creating mentors, you're creating other fellow people. I can't tell you, I've been to trainings. I still go get my first aid and CPR in person because how much of an expert am I? Like, you are the one, and it has changed. Things have changed. So I want to constantly learn. But I can't tell you how I've been to certification. The certification was a joke that I knew way more than the teacher, but I made a new friend in there, and then she and I started a collaboration and started an internship together and started a certification process together, did a retreat together. There's so much benefit to doing things in person. So one, I think you should do it in person. And then I don't see that so open-ended because yoga is a different route. Personal training is a different route. But I also don't know your background. It's tricky to go from being a day job accountant to now I'm going to work with the human body,
Right.
And understand all the nuances with that. And it's been done, so I can't say that. But the baseline is, an ASM or whatever they are. You just go get that baseline. But
I guess maybe answer it from this point of view. If you were to go back to your younger self, would you reorganize any of your training for you, to get you where you're at?
I would not. And here's why. Like, I worked at the YMCA at a college, and I was so bored. And I love the YMCA, so I don't have any disrespect for them. But I'm very high energy, minus what you can see today. But I'm normally very high energy, so I was done with all my work by 11. So what I started doing was researching what all will they pay for. And so anything that they would pay to get me certified in, I did. I got certified in insanity. I never taught insanity class once, but I got to learn how they come up with this, why they come up with this, what does a manual look like. So I've created 3 manuals and 3 certifications myself because of all the trainings I've gone to. I've been able to see what I like and don't like. So I wouldn't do anything myself different. Every job that I've had, I've taken it to the max of what I can be pulling out of it. And the same with this studio. I've used the studio to leverage all kinds of wonderful things for the community.
I guess in that same line of thinking, there's a lot of things that I get interested in, but I'm always concerned that the trainer or that it's scammy. Do you have any sort of way of vetting people for, say you wanted to get good at breath work or Reiki or sound bowls, whatever?
You can get that for $19 on Facebook. You can become a sound healer.
See? And see,
For
how
sure.
do
You can do anything for $19.
Can.
Or you might even be able to just not pay the 19 and just say it, right? That's what I don't know. Is
absolutely.
Good point.
Is
That's a good
some
point.
people are just so. Is it more you just have to go and see trial and error, or do you have a good comprehensive list of these are the, gurus in this space?
I think there are gurus in every space, but also, I went and studied craniosacral work, but that's because my teacher studied it too. So I'm being influenced by my mentors that
Right.
in every training I get. If there's somebody of value and of worth and that I can see is walking the walk, then I want to be closer to them. And so I'm paying attention to what they're doing, and I'm reading what they're reading. And these names are going to constantly pop up. It doesn't matter what field. Y'all know who the best is in everything.
Yeah.
So y'all heard my name before you met me. So I have a good reputation, and you'll find that in whatever field you're looking in.
Yeah. I guess it's hard in this world,
Because marketing.
yeah, and
I hired a terrible business coach based on her marketing. She was so
right.
awesome, and she just wasted $3,000 of my money.
Right.
And I'm
Right,
like, how many feet I had to rub for this?
Yeah. You know how many times I had to wrap my legs around
I
something?
know. I'm so short. It's hard to do.
Yeah, I guess that's the struggle. And I'd love that because we're in a unique space. Chiropractors, what you do, we're just not in the you know, we don't have like a Harvard or a Yale or a place where
right.
it's like, this is the institute that's been there for
Yeah,
hundreds
and there's
of
not
years.
like award shows, you know,
Right.
best trainer in town or anything like that.
Yes.
Other than free times, but you know
Yeah.
those kinds of things. But
Yes.
there's not a governing body who has researched you, vetted you, and said this is an example of what we
Yes.
should be like. There's
Yes.
not.
So Randy doesn't trust anything.
No.
Like literally, he.
Well, here's what happens.
And
So
I
what-
could get sold on anything.
That's
I'm
true.
on the opposite side.
Yeah.
It's a good balance.
Well, in Canada, everything is so regulated that they would tell me what was the gold standard and what wasn't the gold standard, and it irritated me because I was saying, I don't agree with whoever that person is that decided this is the gold standard. Like if somebody from the government came in and told you, you know what, you shouldn't be incorporating this, or it's okay for you to sit back to back, but it's not okay for you to hug them.
Right.
Or that's out of your zone. That can only be done by this person.
Mm-hmm.
That irritated me because it was just a person who didn't understand it deciding what the gold standard was.
Yeah.
Or a person who couldn't do it very well. Like we often had chiropractors who were so weird, no one would ever let them put their hands on them. And because they failed in practice, they would then go into this administrative role where then they would try telling me what was normal and what was allowed and what was the gold standard, and it just bothered me.
Yeah.
So I'm a pretty big advocate for the kind of free for all system where the cream rises to the top, and people are pretty vocal about who's good and who's not good. Or if you have a bad experience, I think most people would say, don't go there, don't do that. I think Google reviews and Facebook reviews and eBay reviews are all kind of good ways of doing it too. They can be manipulated a little bit, but in general, word of mouth, I think, creates
answer.
the best innovation and brings the best person to the top.
I agree.
But I think like, all right, let me give you an example. It's not like we didn't land on the moon, for example. And so who do I go to as the expert to tell me that we didn't land on the moon? Right? Do you see where I'm like?
Well, I think one of the guys who landed on the moon was actually here, and he gave a whole talk that I went and listened to him. He sounded
Did you
convincing.
believe it? See, that's the thing. He could be a good marketer, or like that. That's kind of the same category that I think of. Like when I find something weird, I'm like, okay, let me find somebody who's into that conspiracy, but I can't. You know, they're hard to find
Yep.
because they're just so out there.
That's a real thing.
Yeah. And I think of that and like, so that's where I like breath work, for example. I like that. I'm into it. I don't even know where to start with that.
You know, there's a great book, Stroke of Light. And so there's a brain surgeon who had a stroke. And she was able to kind of mentally document the whole process. And so she was laying in the hospital, and people would walk in the door. She couldn't see them, but she could feel them. And there's like this little light around them. So
Really?
when they came towards her and they were flashing the light in their eyes, hey, can you wiggle your toe? Okay, I think her name was Jill. She would immediately shut. She would go way deep inside of herself to pull herself away from that energy. And then when somebody would come in, they would sit and they would be calm. She would do everything she could to move her body.
No kidding.
And that was how she could heal herself. And I think that has really spoken to me because that goes back to like how I meet somebody as a client. I don't know what I want to match their energy to a degree, but at the end of the day, I have to match what's really going on.
Yeah.
So if they're really sad, I'm fucking sad.
Yeah.
I'm with them. So
You seem a lot calmer than I feel.
how do you feel right now?
I don't
Do you
feel
need a hug?
I don't
Are you
feel
on edge?
no, I don't feel
you need a
uncalm.
hug?
I don't feel uncalm, but I look at you and you just seem very
Peaceful.
yeah, like you're very clearly articulating what you're saying, and I know that you're thinking about it, and I know that you're here, but there's a way about you that's very calm. And I think for a highly anxious person, that would be comforting to them.
Yeah.
But it would be hard for you to match an anxious person's energy.
Oh man.
Do you want to though, or
Have
do you
y'all
want to
seen
kind
my
of?
Instagram? Like, there's me standing, picture of me standing on my massage table. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in front of my massage table, like growling like this. I also play competitive sports, so like I'm a monster. You know, I summited Mount St. Helens, Mount Katahdin. It's
It's
just
in
a
there.
part of you tap into.
I
But
see.
also, I'm more of mature. I'm 48. You know, so at this stage in my life, I want to be calmer. But, like I said about play, I got to teach a bungee class right after I get done with talking to somebody who has cancer. So you got to flip those scripts really quick.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you have any hot topics on how you would assess like somebody with infertility or like hot takes, I guess, not topics, but hot takes on infertility, autoimmune, maybe cancer, unconventional, like not what the medical world would look at them like? How would you approach those? Or what have you maybe seen in some of your work?
So one thing that I'll say is a lot of those things you just mentioned are things way outside of my scope. But I know people who are good in those fields, so I would defer in those directions. But, we take 20,000 breaths a day, and how many are actually deliberate? And so teaching someone breath work, teaching them to take complete control back over their body. Because when you get poked and prodded and then you're sent to this next doctor, doctor, it feels nice to just sit and then just be with yourself and then find that love again. And that's the part that I think I do pretty well. We should be totally in love with this body. This body houses our spirit, and it houses all these memories. And that's what I don't understand when I see a super unhealthy, not necessarily in size, but super unhealthy, like clergy person or a preacher. Like, oh, you're gluttonous? You don't care about your body?
Right.
So I'm confused what parts of your religious faith you're missing here, because that has to be part of it. If you can't take time for your health, then how the fuck are you making time for Jesus?
That's right. Preach, Angela.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Jesus, he did carpentry work. Get your ass out there and build something.
Build a house.
Go analog.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, those kinds of things change people's lives. I'll talk to them about the left and right sides of their bodies, feminine and masculine. And I'm like, it sounds like you've been doing a lot of feminine, quote, feminine things. I think it's time you go out there and mow that yard, or do something that's a little more masculine, or vice versa, excuse me.
Yeah.
And it's funny when they do that, after I read this book, Digital Minimalism, my wheelbarrow broke in my yard. I went to Lowe's and replaced that tire myself. Oh my gosh. It wasn't easy because I'm actually not physically strong enough to do some of these things to secure safety, but I did it. Then I actually had to go have my neighbor really tighten everything down. But I felt so great afterwards, and that only took a couple of hours. I think we are completely misleading ourselves on the amount of time we have. We say we work 60 hours a week. You do not work 60 hours a week. Or we say, I have no time. You have time. You are just not owning it. You're not being deliberate. And it goes back to the breathing. If you have 20,000 breaths, do you remember any of them today? Directors make movies where the door is blue. God has made this planet for that tree to be in front of you, and you drive by it every day and you don't even notice. So I think the more and more we're removed from our bodies, the more poorly we can treat it. And then the more outsourcing we could do to heal it. And that's the problem. I think I saw it in y'all's bathroom that healing is on the inside. Mm-hmm. And it's true.
Yeah.
So you think it's good when I ask my wife to go mow the lawn?
Yeah.
As long as this goes back to who I am. I'm like, if you're gonna do that, are you gonna tickle me? Is this gonna be fun?
Are you gonna tickle her after?
Yeah.
I'm gonna chase her around the yard while she's mowing, tickling her, poking her with a little stick.
I would mow the yard for that. Yeah.
There you go.
All right, that's a good idea.
Are you engaged or are you being a jerk? If you're being a jerk, I'm not mowing the yard. But if you're engaged, yeah, I'm going to mow that yard.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe
so it's a
slap her
good
on the
point.
ass a
So we got to
little
do
That's
it.
what I'm saying.
So we both kind of mow the lawn together in a fun way. Is what you're
that's
saying?
Even better.
It's like
Marriage
foreplay.
longevity, right
Yeah,
there.
actually, that would be useful foreplay.
Yep.
Let's go mow the lawn together, and I'll tickle you while you push it around.
I'll squeeze your ass.
It's gonna be a hard
Oh my
sell.
God, what am I doing?
Do you think more people should stand in front of the mirror nude and just look at themselves? Do you think it happens enough?
I made that mistake. I was in Down Dog. And I just saw my wrinkly knees. I'm like, what is that? I think only if it's healthy for them.
Right.
Because if you're not able to look at yourself and appreciate it, I'm aging. This is what I look like. I might be able to level it up a little bit with some makeup and some clothes, but this is what I look like. And
Well, that's what I was
I
thinking.
think a
Like,
lot
how
of
do they
people
love it?
can't do it.
Like, how do they fall in love with their body, with
Yeah.
where they're at?
Yeah.
It's kind of what I was thinking. Like, a lot of people won't look in the mirror nude, let alone like clothes.
Is that what you wrote in your notes?
I
That's
wrote
what you
that down. I was writing that down. Yeah, that came into my head, and I said, I got to get this. There's a lot more here too.
I think people. I think the other thing too, if people looked at themselves nude more and just see the rawness of themselves, and then actually journaled about it, and
Right.
then was sweet about it, I think great things could happen.
And then they might do something, like even the parts they don't like, that would attract them to like find how to
That's
do
right.
something about
That
it.
approach would be totally different.
Yeah.
Because going back to like the gyms, and you got to go in and buy a membership, and you're locked in, and all that kind of stuff. If you look at your body and you think, man, I should lose some weight or whatever. One of the questions I always want to know is, what did your parents do? What did your family do ancestrally? And
Yeah.
you should do something that mimics something from your past. So I have clients come in 60 years old, and I'm like, what did you do when you were a kid? And they're like, I twirled a baton. I'm like, here you go. Here's a stick. And
Yeah.
number one thing, the body remembers it. You're not going to get hurt. It's not going to resist it. Then we build around it. So if the person is standing there and they're like, I want to lose weight, that's not the answer.
Right.
What do you actually want to do? You want
Yeah.
those legs to be this size, or belly to be smaller, or whatever it is. But that all still comes back to, how can we play? How can we make this fun? If you do something you don't like, you're going against yourself.
Right.
It's like no reason to eat carrots if you like peas. There's no reason. It's if you are eating a very, very healthy diet, but you're super stressed out, you're not digesting it anyway.
Right.
So we can't match stress for stretch. Now, this is not to talk about any other studio. I know a lot of the owners here in town. You've interviewed most of them. But it's a lot of people are attracted to what they think they should be doing, so they're actually attracting themselves to more stress. So if you're already a hyper-stressful person, you should not be going into a 30-minute sweat, kill all, leave it on the mat. That's just exacerbating it.
Right.
And your body doesn't know that difference, especially if your inner dialogue is, I'm not good enough. I need to get in here and do this right now. I need to knock this out.
Yeah.
So you almost need the opposite, but then that takes courage,
I'm a big proponent of people trying multiple different gyms and then
agree.
going back to the one that feels
I
the
agree.
best. A lot of people, they're so scared to go into one that they go in that one time. And if they like it, they stay. And if they don't, then they don't. And then they don't have any other point of reference.
I'll add a third one. They like it, they stay. They don't, they leave. They also get hustled into buying contracts. Whether
And then
or
they
not
have no
use it.
choice.
They come
Right.
twice. Now they're being drafted for the next 2 years.
Which is a lot of the gym memberships model.
Yep.
Hundreds and hundreds of people on recurring, but only 20% of those people are going to show up.
Right.
It's wild.
Well, consider like all the box gyms, and I'm not mentioning names, but like the big box gyms.
Planet
you know,
Fitness.
So they actually have equipment in there that is literally known to harm you. Like, doing that, seated back twist with all that weight, that is not okay. That your spine is not designed for that. Those adductor machines. When was the last time you put all that weight on the inside thigh and drug it
can't
in?
do that,
I mean,
yeah.
those are so dangerous. But they know you're going to get hurt, and you're so unaware of how you got hurt because you had headphones on. You were talking to your friend. You were taking
Yeah.
a selfie. You missed it when your body was giving you those cues. You don't miss it when you're
Yeah.
in my studio because it's just us, and you're aware of what's going on right now, what you should be feeling.
Yep. That's good. Do you practice any religion yourself?
I think I'm going to go to Korea this summer to go study a little bit of Buddhism. I 100% believe there was a God. When I was little, there was a lot of physical violence. That wasn't easy to raise 3 kids and move all the time. And my brother and sister and I are all very outspoken, and I'm sure we were hard to deal with. But along the way, I always felt safe, and I always found people to reach out to and connect with. And I just think that had to come from some other presence. So I do know in my heart there's something out there that's greater.
Yeah.
And then the thing that makes me giggle when I think about God is that's one of the reasons why I want to travel so much, is when I do meet my maker, I want to be able to say something like, I love what you did in Bali. That was cool as shit. I'm not sure why you did that with the poor Jewish people, but okay. I want to actually be in it and live this life. But also, I also kind of throw caution to the wind sometimes, and I spend some money I shouldn't because I'm like, there's also aliens, y'all. You know, if there's an alien,
Right.
what the fuck are we worried about?
See?
Supposedly, do you believe there's aliens?
See, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm
I
getting,
can't say yes or no, but I'm not going to rule it out.
See, that's where I'd love to find an expert on aliens that I could trust and I could have a nice conversation.
Exactly.
I don't know what's out there, but I just want to live as much as I can.
Right.
Have you ever heard of Dr. Pat Allen? She's a therapist. She wrote some books. She was the mentor to Patty Stanger, who did the Millionaire Matchmaker TV shows for a
gosh,
long time.
No.
So she's in her mid 80s or late 80s, maybe 90s now. But we did our marriage counseling with her, and at the time she was probably like 72 years old. So we had to fly out to Newport Beach. She was in California, and she was just very matter of fact about things, and she used curse words, no big deal, and she just didn't care. She wanted me to get better, like be a better future husband or whatever. Like she wanted us to talk about her issues, and she didn't care about anything. But she was just, it was just like an interesting dynamic because she wasn't trying to get, I didn't feel like she was trying to get anything from us.
Yeah.
And I also felt like she didn't care about the outcome one way or the other.
Yeah.
She wanted us to do well, but she didn't personally take it on,
Yep.
which is the feeling that I get from you too. You want to give your best, you really care, but like the person also has to want it and be there for it.
That's right. That's right. I'm hoping to give them another conversation in their head. You know, people come to me and they'll say, my doctor said this, you know, my daughter says this, all these people say these things. I'm like, okay, well, what do you say? You know? And so getting them back to themselves is very healing. And like I said, there's some people, they'll come to me a few times and I don't see them again, but they'll send lots of other people, you know.
So, all right, let me ask you this then, because when I was meeting with Dr. Pat Allen, I was like, man, she would be so hard to date, like going on a date with her, because she would just be up. You couldn't play any games. She's just upfront about everything. Yep. So is that, what does it look like for you? What's the dating world
Angela.
look like for you?
It's awful. You know, I listen to a lot of y'all's podcasts. At one point, I think I started making a list of who all was single so I could do some kind of event and bring us all together.
We want that.
We need it.
Because, like, if we all brought somebody, you know, they're all in our caliber, you know,
Right.
professionals, educated, curious. I think I've been struggling. I got back on the dating app in October, and, like, one guy actually messaged me and said, I would really like to work out with you. And I'm like, do you want my scheduling link? I'm like, what does this mean? And he's like, well, okay, to be honest, I would like a regular sexual partner, but I don't want my son to know I am dating because it's so close to the divorce. So I thought maybe what we could do is we could work out together at the park every week, and then that could build into something. And I was just like,
Boy.
I read it. You know what? People propose worse things. And I responded, this is very thoughtful, you know, but it's not for me. You know, I work out all day long. You know, I'm not going to do it for free. I mean, were you going to pay me? Like, can we go to dinner afterwards? Like, what is happening?
Where's the coffee dinner date?
Where do I get anything out of this? So
That's wild.
yeah, I get approached for a lot of weird things.
I need to know.
Weirder.
Yeah, keep telling us some more things.
Well, I feel like you have to. That's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm trying to think when it hit me that I knew I was like weird and different. And I think it was in chiropractic school or like graduating from chiropractic school, where I was like, okay, I'm on a pathway or a journey that is not what 95% of people are ever going to be in. Yeah. Did you have that moment where you just knew like this, I'm different, I think differently, I'm unique? Do you remember any of like what brought you? I always think like that way versus the traditional conventional medical way.
Or in dating, or do we go back
both.
to professional?
Well, mainly professional, but then dating. Well, dating.
Yeah, we got to stay on this dating thing. I got to hear more stories.
With professional, I think it happened because I did always go outside the box. You know?
Gotcha.
So
just growing up
that just
and all
was
that,
natural for me. But with dating, I think where I struggle, there's a lot of people who look alike, you know, and they talk alike and they act alike. So it's like the same person each time, you know, by 20 minutes into the date. Just like, it was good talking to you. I think I'm going to go now. You know, and or sometimes I can tell you, like, I went on a date with this guy and he was so much fun. for like a week. We talked on the phone, texted, and like we were talking shit. We're gonna eat. We're gonna go play pickleball, and I'm gonna take him out. And then he gets there and he clams up. Like he has almost nothing to say to me. We're sitting there eating sushi. Like he's just polite and answers questions, asks questions. And after he left, I sent him a text. I was like, "When did you know it was over?" You know? And he goes, "I'm not sure." And I go, "Did you just not like me?" And he goes, "Actually, just once I got there and we started talking, I just knew we were not on the same page."
Really?
Yeah. So like he knew what I looked like, so I don't think it could have been because my pictures are up to date.
And you guys were talking for
Yeah.
that long? That's wild.
So I think one thing I've heard common from the people that you guys have interviewed is I don't think I'm at all intimidating, but I do think that sometimes people, they go to work, they come home. They go to work, then they go bowling. Then they go to work and they come home. And I don't live like that. You know, there's in a given day, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Like I'm going to be in a purple wig raising money for children's charities. And then, you know, then I wanted to chase the sun in February. I made a promise to myself that every February I go to a beach. So St. Croix and I went to Cabo last year. And this year I missed it because my schedule was so packed. Like this is one of our best years so far. And so I just hurried up, drove down to Charleston, and sat on the beach all afternoon because I needed to respect the little Angela in me and give that to her. But people don't live like that. So who am I supposed to date?
That's what's
That
tough.
sounds cuckoo to people.
Well, what's your type? What are you into?
Tragically, I'm so into these beards, and everybody has one.
Guys with beards?
Yeah. Everybody has one now. I'm like, you shouldn't have a
Big
beard.
beards?
That's right.
No, not a ZZ Top situation. But
What about tattoos?
I can go for a few, but the shock value tattoos I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want one on your face. I will stare at it the whole time. It's just like, why is that there? Do you have a mole?
Yeah. Do you like a thick guy? Like muscular? Or you like, or would you date like
Big
a
neck.
skinny? Like I can't
I like
see you
an
with a
athletic
skinny
person.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not a body shamer. I mean,
Skinny,
look,
big.
if you walk into a restaurant, most of the men's chairs are pulled away from the table because they look pregnant.
You're good with that.
To
You could
a
work.
No,
degree.
you're not
I
good with
can
that.
Work with it.
You could work with
I
it.
can work with it.
You
What
could
I'm
fix
not going
that.
to do is knowingly sign up for like apathy, or knowingly sign up for this is the way my life is and this is what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not signing up for that. If you don't have this zest and curiosity, and you don't want to, you know, if you only take your one vacation a year, we're not going to get along. You know, I'm like, calling sick. We're going somewhere. Where are we going? Who cares? You know.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's hard to find
Would you
in
go
Columbia,
older?
South Carolina.
Would you go older? Would you go young? How young would you go?
The tricky part of going older is I'm already 48. I mean, what are they supposed
How
to be?
much time you can have
You
with
know,
them?
like-
Apparently, there's 76-year-olds that can run a 5-minute mile like
Dude.
me.
I think my age range on my dating app is 42 to 54.
Yep.
Oh, that
That's
is a
good
small
range.
range.
No, it's a good range though.
I don't want somebody in their 30s. That's a
Yeah.
different, you know, they're too, my
12
oldest daughter's
years.
27, you know, so I don't want somebody anywhere near my daughter's age.
That's
just,
true.
The dating world just seems there's not a lot of dudes. That's the problem. Most of the people we talk to that are single are women around our age, and it's like we don't hang out with many. Like I can't even think of single dudes that we hang out with.
I don't know.
They're hard
any.
to find.
Zero.
trust me.
Yeah, but we're seeking.
we are trying to
We are
find where all the
pursuing
single
dudes. I do
men
think
hang out.
If anyone could pull off an event, it could be y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all have met enough cool people.
Yes,
Y'all
we're
can do
ready.
it.
Should we throw like a pool party, like a banger?
That's not a bad idea because then we can see what we're working with.
Yep. Let's just show
Yep.
everybody. Maybe we'll go around giving hugs, do some body work.
Tickling. I'll be around tickling
Randy
people.
will tickle.
Oh, your wife has to mow the yard first.
Our wives will be mowing the yard. All right, I got a couple last questions.
Okay.
Have you noticed any certain patterns in people with like divorce or with death in their family or some sort of tragedy? And where have you, like, what patterns do you see?
Where a lot of bad things befall someone.
Yeah, like, is it like,
Like, do you study quantum at all? So, you know how you buy a car and then all of a sudden you see that car all the time? That's a similar
I'm into
thing.
that, yep.
So, quantum, I'm not even going to try to be scientific about it because it's one of my nerdy clients who always talks to me about it. But quantum talks about how you are repeatedly attracting that.
Yeah.
You're bringing that in. And I think the best way to stop it again is going back to breathing, because breathing is present and breathing is right now. But yeah, there are a lot of people that, I mean, I went through a hard season. 2 dogs died. I got divorced. I became an empty nester. My daughter went off to college. The dogs dying about killed me.
Yeah.
Then we had something crazy happen at the studio. Like, a lot of things happened all at once. And I kept wondering, did I do this? Did I manifest all of this? And I think sometimes it just becomes this series. And once you're in it, you're so low, you are.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's when you get to that car accident. You're so low, now you've gotten into a car accident. And it just keeps spilling over. So the only way to break it, I think, is one, these really healthy friendships. You know, you have to be deliberate in creating your friendships too, and then creating that relationship with yourself. But it's the only way to break those cycles, because they're terrible, and we're meant to be suffering to a degree. You know, we're not supposed to be happy all the time, but the way out of it is those non-sexual relationships, intimate ones. You know, I flew out to Minneapolis to spend Christmas with 3 76-year-old women and had the most wonderful time. Like, we all had so much fun. But those are the kinds of relationships that we need. You know, I don't have grandparents in my life, and they sort of fill that need for me. And I feel that need for them. I'm their young tech person, and I'm so funny. I make them go do things they wouldn't normally do. And so it's such a good balance. So I do think there is a trend, and I think the sooner you can recognize it, and then you can find a teacher, a mentor, that to me is the most important part, is to make sure you have mentors. I have mentors that are important to me. And then what was the second part of that?
Well, I was wondering if you noticed anything like physiologically the same like, do they have tight chests or quads?
Y'all hear the same thing. You know, everybody's got rotator cuff injury, everybody.
Right.
And everybody's hamstrings are so tight.
Yep.
And so for me, it's always reframing that conversation. Well, if your hamstrings aren't tight, you can't be explosive. If they aren't tight, you can't move well.
I'm explosive.
You need it.
Yeah.
And explosive isn't just about on a playing field. If you're sitting on the couch and your grandchild is about to run out into the street, you gotta fucking explode.
Bang, I'm out.
So reframing that conversation, what happens is they get into these places that are requiring the contractor to try to create repeat business. So they say bullshit to them. They're like, oh my God, these knots, I need you to come back every single week.
Work on them, yeah.
You know, and it's like, there's no knot. Your muscle did not detach, knot up, and attach again.
Let me untie this for you.
Let me show you how to address, these restrictions so that you can take care of them yourself.
Yeah. All right. Wow. What permission are you asking these people to do the non-sexual intimacy touching? Like, what's that conversation look like?
There isn't one.
You just say
I have a lot of confidence by this point in my life and career, so there's no imposter syndrome. I just say, are you okay with me touching you? And that's it.
Bang.
And why would they be there? They didn't come.
But do they say, like, here's a no-no zone, or?
Well, I'm not like.
She did a thumb in the butt for the listeners. Well, that's what I didn't know. If you're saying, like, if people are like, yeah, green light everywhere.
Yeah.
And you just.
They should say green light everywhere. That way we can be fully natural.
And then you throw on a rubber glove, and then it's like.
I mean, I will I will go in their mouth with a rubber glove.
Really?
And stuff.
See?
Yeah.
See, like, if you didn't say that, and you just throw on a rubber glove, and they're green light everywhere, they might go, wait a minute, yellow, 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 red, red.
Their eyes are closed. They don't see it coming.
All of a sudden, you hear the glove snap. You're
wait. There's a
we got to
red light.
reassess this.
Goodness.
There is a stoplight. Okay. All right. That's good. And then what do you think about the over the phone or over Zoom stuff? Like, do you think there's some merit to that? Like, I've seen some of these videos on Instagram where people are, waving their hand at a screen on the computer, and people are literally, like, shaking.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a thing?
I think it can be.
I'd
if
love to
that
get into that.
practitioner is like just so gifted and the receiver is really into it, yes. But for the most part, no. Most people are on there, they're doing their dishes on the side, trying not to get noticed.
Right.
They're not fully invested. That's why I don't like online certifications. That's why I don't like even a therapist on the phone. You could literally be changing clothes, making the bed.
Right.
You're not fully in it.
That happened to me.
Those gyms, like Move Fitness and those gyms had those TV rooms.
Yeah.
you're gonna go watch like Tyler Perry movie while you run on a treadmill. Go
Yeah.
work out for 30 minutes. Go home, watch that movie. Like,
Right.
what are you doing? You know, you're in
Right.
this dark room. Just at some point, it's wear and tear. This
Yeah.
is not an exercise anymore.
You're just it's too much.
So I agree with you on the online stuff. Like seeing a therapist or even workout online. Don't like seminars. Don't. In fact, we had 3 of our chiropractors went all the way to Nashville this weekend for a seminar.
Good.
I'm going to Nevada in 2 weeks for a seminar. Then we have another one that we're going to. So we travel all over for seminars because I think it's so much better when you're in person.
And that's really important to do. I love my whole team. We always try to go to these conferences so you can get the latest in how the Bosu balls have evolved or how this instructor, you learn the vocabulary that's changed. So in person is the way to go.
Yep. But I will say the move treadmill in the dark room when I was training. So I did a marathon, which you probably heard me talk about. And when I was training for it, I would have to run for 3 hours at a time or 4 hours at a time. And it would be raining and it would get dark and people were crazy driving around rush hour. And I would just get in there and grind. And I watched all the movies. They chose the movies. So I watched all the ones that my wife liked, but I wouldn't sit and watch. So I knew everything about all the movies that she wanted. And we have I brought it up so much that we have this like body glide. Have you seen this before?
No.
Have you
We
ever
have
used any
this
lube?
body glide. I guess they're sending it to us now because we talk about how much we chafe.
Oh my God.
So the Move Fitness movie room is probably one of the worst
I think you're
chafing
an
places
anomaly,
out
though.
there. I think I'm an anomaly with everything.
Okay.
I think I'm just
He's a
very unique.
unicorn.
Okay.
All right, last thing here. Well, first, how much do you love our podcast? You listen to
I have listened to almost all of them. Even people I don't like, I've listened to. So that should tell you
just
something.
to see.
That does mean something.
Well, I want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
And be judgy the whole time. Like,
Yeah,
that's not how it happened.
Yep.
pull out your notebook.
I actually, for a while, I started messaging y'all every time I listened to one. Then I was like, they're not going to like this.
We love a good
I
message.
do love a message.
We love a
yeah,
good message.
keep them coming.
And then what are your love languages? Is physical touch got to be your number one?
It is.
Really?
Yeah, and I think it has, this whole city has carried me. This, when I was going through the really hard time I was telling you about with the divorce and the dogs and all that stuff, somebody just called me and asked me ambassador for the city. I'm like, wait, what? Why? And then I went through another hard time, and then Fig Magazine asked me to be, authentic woman. And they carry me. This whole city has been such a gift. I think Columbia is wonderful.
Good. Well, I mean, we were talking love languages, and then you
Love
fell
language.
in love with the city.
So physical touch.
Yep.
And I think that touching my clients all day long gives me
Fills you up.
enough to manage not being in a dating relationship. And then words of affirmation. You know, it's on the regular that I hear that I've done something well, and that makes me feel good. And gifts, like you cannot hang out with a 70-year-old without them bringing you something.
Yeah, like a Werther's original
Oh, yeah.
piece of candy.
Yeah.
Do you get Werther's
All the
originals?
time.
Do you?
Handfuls, 5 or 6.
I can't wait until
I
I,
don't
just have
eat any of
candy
them.
in my pocket to hand to people. Like, should I start doing that now?
I think
At
you're
what age
ready
do you
right
do- I think
now.
I might be ready.
I don't know. It might seem pervy.
Haters.
Is this laced?
Take this. Yeah, so wait. At what age is it not pervy?
I think.
Like,
I
You're
think
too
you
young.
have
It's
to-
still pervy
Yeah.
for Tom to do it, but it's okay for other people.
Yeah, you gotta wait a little longer.
you gotta wait. Put that on the back burner. All right. I guess tell the audience then too, just all the services that they can get at or that are offered at Fit Columbia.
So at our studio, we have yoga with all the animals. So we have
Tell us about
baby
that.
Not
goats.
cats.
Before you get
Is
into
there
other
cats?
services.
Definitely cats. We donate a lot of money. So I think last year we donated over $7,000-8,000 just from these yoga classes with these animals.
Wow.
But we're about to do yoga with puppies. Last Mother's Day we did yoga with bunnies, and we work with a local farm, and they just let us know when something's about to have babies, and then
And they
when
bring
it's
'em
all
in.
safe, then we do it, and it's been such a cute thing because I'll have people message me and go, "My dad's been sick. It's the first time that I've been joyful."
Yeah.
And because animals don't, these goats are just they don't need an acclimation period. They just come running over and start tugging on you,
Yeah.
and playing with you. And y'all, there's a lot of lonely people out there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so I think that's where my studio really fits that need. We have free senior fitness classes on Mondays. I'm sorry. What day is it? Tuesdays and Fridays. And so
Nice.
it's free. So we have like 26 people. It's sold out every week.
Oldies,
Sold out free.
sweating to the
But
oldies.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And you should just hear it. Like
Yeah.
it vibrates.
What age is senior citizen? Is it 65 still?
I don't know. We don't put an
You don't
age on.
check
If you
yet?
want to come,
All right, I'll be there.
And Tom will
With
be
my
there with his
should.
candies.
You guys, they would love it.
Who are these two guys that took up a spot?
And then
He
I just
always
pull out a
pulls.
candy.
Here you go.
You're only
Here's
coming
a
for the
Werther's.
candy. So we have the senior fitness classes. We've got yoga, a lot of non-traditional yoga. So all of our yoga's free. The reason why is because the market's already saturated. You know, we have so many teachers.
That's cool.
So we just do that free. I still pay my instructors. But to me, it keeps my teachers practicing
Yeah.
and evolving. And so we have aerial yoga, wall yoga, personal training. If you come at like 6 o'clock in the morning, we have a lot of important people in that studio
Nice.
because they value the privacy. You know, they get hands-on stretching after every appointment. They get lavender towels. It's
They doing
more than
like
just
weights?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have people, we don't brag about it because
Yeah.
that's not the focal point, but we have people who lost hundreds of pounds. We have people who've,
Yeah.
you know, been taken off meds. They've built all the strength and they look really great. We have a lot of people who go through like Ozempic and the different kinds of weight loss things that's been coming out a lot. And so we'll retrain them on how to move their bodies after that. And like,
Yeah.
you really got to up your protein and you cannot not work out if you're on this. And so, you know, a lot of people, one woman came to me and said, my daughter said, I have to come and work out and not just let Miss Angie make you feel good. So I made her work out that day. But they come in and we just meet their need.
Yoga, personal training,
all the things,
stretch,
stretching.
animal yoga,
Yep.
wall yoga,
Kids
aerial
yoga.
yoga. Sound. I came
Sound.
for but that was just like a one-off, right? Where
Yeah,
you bring in
Shiana
people?
rented the
Yeah.
studio, and that is something else that we do. So we'll rent the studio, like if you want to come and do a workshop or
Yeah.
something like that. Then you can rent it for a couple of hours and do whatever you
Just kind of lay in the cocoon.
want. Yeah.
We could just rent it out and say we're gonna lay in the cocoon.
Yep.
Play some bongo
Yep.
drums.
Yep. Yep.
Very nice.
Sounds great. And then if they want to get in contact with you, what does that look like for them?
So all of my social media typically is shut down. Like it's, you know, I don't have the 5 million followers. It's just people that I really know. But the Fit Columbia, you could just access through there if you want to reach anybody. But we have a studio phone number. So should I say it?
Yeah,
Sure. Or
say it.
website.
Website Fit Columbia, you know, and then the Instagram, you know, all the social media handles.
Is there a Columbia Fit?
Yeah.
There is. That gets confusing.
Yeah. I'm not fully familiar, but I remember seeing it. But you know, that happens all the time. Like there was some program and I looked and they were wearing all of our colors and it said Fit Kids, and it was right around the same time I just launched Fit Kids Yoga. And so we had all the shirts made, but they were literally wearing our colors and everything. I was just like, oh, how original.
Great.
Well, this has been amazing.
Yep.
Yeah,
This has
thank
been
you,
so
guys.
much fun. We appreciate you being on here.
I appreciate it.
Everyone, go check her out. Angela Yong, Fit Columbia.
Thank you for saying that, right?
Thank God.
Here
We're here for the health of it.
for the health of it.